2004 has been a year of dominance for Sebastian Bourdais in the Champ Car World Series. Bourdais leads the title fight. To fulfill his destiny, he again must duel not only the full Champ Car field, but especially his Newman Haas teammate. That would be Bruno Junqueira. Junqueira's a dangerous second in the points. Now it's time for round 13 of Bridgestone presents the Champ Car World Series powered by Ford, and the tour returns to Surfers' Paradise in Australia. 13 be Bourdais' lucky number to clinch the championship, or might fate favor the unexpected? We'll find out next from Australia. Now Bridgestone presents the Champ Car World Series powered by Ford. Today, coverage of the Champ Car Grand Prix of Australia. It's taken nearly a week to get these drivers, teams, and cars halfway around the globe, from Indianapolis to Queensland, Australia, where the Surfers' Paradise course is located. One of the prettiest venues in all of racing. It's the 14th consecutive year the Champ Car has come to Australia. Hello again, everyone. I'm Rick Benjamin, joined by Tommy Kendall, and Derek Daly is topside with us as well. 2 races remain in the 2004 season, and the championship fight has boiled down to 2 drivers. Coming into today's event, Sebastian Bourdais leads his teammate Bruno Junqueira by 28. Bourdais added a point during Friday qualifying, and Bourdais can lock up the title here today if he outraces Junqueira and outscores him by a total of 7 markers when they throw the checkered flag here in Australia this afternoon. It'll be a dogfight between these 2 drivers because they start in the top 3. Tommy Kendall, it's a fast place, nearly 2.8 miles around. Show us the racetrack.
And the reason the drivers love coming here isn't just the beautiful fauna and flora, it has to do with the racetrack itself. The main reason they like is they feel like they make a difference. Those 4 famous Surfers' Paradise chicanes really reward aggression. Turn 1, Turn 2, the 5-6 complex, and the double chicane in Turn 7.
Wild 2 days of qualifying Friday and Saturday. A lot of drivers getting into the chicanes and the tire barriers.
And the chicanes and the curbing is not new, but the tires on top of the curbing is new. The officials wanted to do something to try to, keep that aggression in check. And still, the drivers are testing the limits, and you see a lot of the guys getting it wrong.
Rodolfo Levine with a big hit there. A lot of nose cones broken. Tracy, his teammate, quickest of all, Derek.
In the dying moments, he put his car on the pole. On the front row beside him is Bourdais, who has to be conservative to chase a championship.
And the guy chasing him is Bruno Junqueira in row 2. He's to have one of the biggest races of his life. Has to win this race. A daunting stat, though. His best finish in Surfers' Paradise, 14.
The Herdez team makes up row 3. Both of these drivers have won in Surfers' Paradise in the past. Both as rookies, they were winners.
They won the last 2 years, and a rookie trying to extend that streak to 3 rookie winners here in Surfers' Paradise is Justin Wilson.
Back to row 5, Michel Jourdain. His best finish was 4th here back in 03. And Alex Tagliani, whose wife he met here in Surfers' Paradise, looking for a good day.
And Patrick Carpentier, who's not only trying to hold on to 3rd in the championship, he's trying to hold on to a ride. He needs to prove himself. Going to have a long way to come from the 11th starting spot.
Back in row 7, the first of the Rainers, Mario Haberfeld went fast in the morning warm-up. Beside him, Nelson Philippe.
And a new driver to Champ Cars, Czechoslovakian driver Jarek Janis, who is subbing in the car that Gaston Mazzacani usually drives. He's won races in 3,000.
Row 9, another new Champ Car driver, David Bernard from Australia, lives in Surfers' Paradise. Beside him is Guy Smith.
And all alone on row 10 is Oriol Serbia. That is not representative of the speed he has. He rode his car off in practice before final qualifying.
So Serbia will be in a backup car. Race facts today will go 57 laps, 160 miles, or an hour 45 on this 2.795-mile street course. They've done away with the pit windows here today. We expect 2 stops, maybe more, and they've added push to pass time. Tommy, the Bridgestone keys.
Well, because of that, abolishing the fuel windows, fuel mileage is going to be a big, big deal. We haven't had a race won on fuel mileage, but the potential exists for a guy to steal one from the back.
There is no doubt a major key is aggression equals speed here. The harder you can charge over the top of those curbs, the faster you go.
3rd key, same team, same dream. Junqueira and Bourdais battling to the wire for the championship. Maybe it'll be settled here today. It may move to the finale at Mexico City. And the first turn of the key 1 year ago, Paul Tracy trying to win the title. Bourdais got through it and turned him around. As he was able to recover and to want to win the championship, you might see more of the same in turn 1. Green flag, straight ahead. Getting set to line them up 2 by 2 for the start here at Surfers' Paradise. We're glad to have you with us. Tracy's race last year you saw a few moments ago really out the window
Plus, there's a lot of yellow flag running. If the yellow flag laps get them close to 20 laps, it's possible you get some back-enders that really try to save fuel, maybe go on one side.
You saw a glimpse, Tommy, those tires that you just mentioned. They're on the inside of the chicanes, just about 6 or 8 inches inside the curve. Designed to try and stop these racing cars straight lining over the top of these curves. Now, what will happen is they'll inch towards the tires, they'll begin to hit the tires, they'll knock them out of the way, and that's when you begin to go straight over the top of these curves and really pick up a lot of time.
Well, the competition officials with Champ Car put out a bulletin earlier in the weekend that each driver has to keep at least 2 wheels on the racing surface or they'll be penalized, they'll lose their lap, and then they'd have to serve a drive-through penalty, so your chances of victory would go away if you're found to have committed that infraction.
And then you get into a judgment call situation. I think Chris Neifel and the stewards have said if they do not see it themselves or can't confirm it with video evidence, they're not going to rely on a call from a corner worker. Because that's something in the past, at Toronto a few years back, they relied on a corner worker's call and it penalized one of the drivers when in fact he had not violated the rules. So they're going to rely on, so you can get away with it if it's not caught on film.
Take a look there at how close this racetrack is to the beautiful beach here at Queensland and Surfers Paradise. Thinking about that, if you keep 2 wheels on the surface, that gives you an awful lot of race time that you can put off the racetrack.
Absolutely, that is a major key here. That's why you will see them still go crashing over the top of these curves. In fact, you can see it even here on the warm-up. There's Junqueira, there's the Western Union car with AJ Allmendinger, who said after the warm-up this morning, he's happy to let Junqueira, Bourdais, and Tracy go fight this thing out. He doesn't want to get involved in a street fight and potentially get an accident in these early laps.
Line field back up again now. Race count. The lap count of 57 has begun, and the time clock has started as well. An hour 45 time limit here today at Surfers Paradise as well. Interesting that this is the 14th Champ Car World Series event in Australia. There have been no repeat winners, only 2 full winners in the field. Paul Tracy, Jimmy Vasser, as we've seen many times today. Johnny Andretti won here. Nigel Mansell won here. We also have Mario Dominguez and Ryan Hunter Ray, full winners in the field going back the last couple of years. So it's an unusual kind of set of circumstances here today. This is a track that there's different winners in the past. Let's see if they get the green coming to the line to start here today.
That was uglier than the last one.
Green flag. They got a green. Tracy the leader.
And look at Bruno. Bruno is pushed back to 4th. Oh, and Allmendinger gets in the back of Bourdais. They both go straight.
Will that be a penalty on Bourdais now?
I think because he was hit by Allmendinger from behind, they won't count that as him shortcutting chicane.
Allmendinger, who said he was going to take it easy, had a golden opportunity to try and follow Paul Tracy through. Oh, the Australian.
Going around at the start. There's a safety truck out there already. Bernard in the second, Derek Walker-Radar.
Who specifically said he's going to be conservative all through this race to try and take the thing home in one piece. I don't think he hit anything yet, but you don't often get away with a spin like that between these concrete walls.
Maybe he got caught up in the pageantry. They have those guys, those donut exhibitions before the start of the race.
Pete Gold tires first starting the 750 horsepower Champ Car. Not a big surprise, at least to me. Tracy leads Bourdais right now in second. Bruno is third, and Allmendinger.
Bruno was able to get around Allmendinger. Allmendinger in too hot again. Straight lines the VB chicane.
That may be a penalty right
sometimes when that happens, the tire will go flat immediately.
Wow, there goes the side mod off Tagliani's car and some other bodywork. There's a piece of the bodywork right there on the surface.
Yeah, those are big for creating downforce. They're called flugelhorns right in front of the rear wheel. And that will not only probably affect the cooling of the car as well as the downforce.
So a lot of body damage here on Friday, the first day of practice. There were 10 front wings had to be replaced on these cars. These cars were put in the corners so severely and knocking the tires out of the way with the front wings. So a lot of body damage has been done here throughout this weekend.
A.J. Allmendinger there, the yellow blue sport number 10, running fourth. The two Hernandez cars, Dominguez is fifth. Sixth is Hunter Ray. Justin Wilson off to a good start on seventh. Jimmy Vasser is eighth. Michelle Jourdain ninth. Tagliani shown 10th after that incident. We'll see if he's going to have to come to pit road. You think he would have to in such a great place as the Surfers Paradise today. Tracy is your leader early in Australia. Built for the road ahead. Tracy from the pole has led the first 6 laps here at Surfers Paradise. Tracy would love to have a win. Last time a couple weeks ago in Las Vegas on the oval, never even got it out of the box.
Yeah, he had a problem with an assembly problem. They put the wrong block, wrong spool in his car, ended up not being able to strides on the half shaft, and the first time he realized it was when he gave power to it. It was out before the replay.
There's Tagliani there tailing the bodyboard racing. How did he get that car on the racetrack?
I am surprised that he is able to run still ahead of Patrick Carpentier. Carpentier was the fastest man in race trim this morning in the warm-up. So for Tag to lose the type of downforce that Tommy mentioned earlier with those flugelhorns, which is basically downforce generated in front of that left front wheel, I'm surprised he could run that well. Tommy, I'm surprised the cooling is as efficient also.
The air will not be extracted as efficiently out of the radiator on the back side of the radiator, so it's more drag, less downforce. But again, I think part of that's being created by the fact that these guys are not really able to run as hard as they would have because of the lack of fuel conditioning. And they're running hard, they're using the brakes hard and so forth, but they can't really charge because they got to run to that fuel number on their dashboard.
Riding with A.J. Allmendinger, a look at Allmendinger and that Western Union number 10, as we showed you there a moment ago. If he picks up 1 point on Justin Wilson today, basically if he finishes a spot ahead of Wilson, he clinches Rookie of the Year honors in the Champ Car World Series before the season finale at Mexico City. He's got a quarter-second lead over Mario Dominguez with 7 laps on the board. It's been a terrific first year for Allmendinger. He had said to us earlier in the year he thought he could win a race this year. I don't know if it'll happen here today before he's put together a fine rookie season.
It really has, and if he finishes in front of Justin Wilson, he will clinch that Rookie of the Year thing, which to me, it doesn't sound like it means that much to him. He's like, I don't want to just be the best rookie. I want to win races, even as a rookie. He's made it clear what he's shooting for, and he doesn't want to just be respectable for a rookie. He wants to win, period.
You know the career path he's taken. Barber Dodge Pro Champion 2 years ago, Atlantics Champion last year, in a Champ Car this year. It has been very impressive, especially in the second half of the year.
This is a great fight here. Allmendinger, Dominguez, and Hunter Ray, 4th, 5th, and 6th. I mean, this is a flat-out street race. And look at Bourdais has closed in now on the leader, Paul Tracy.
And the gap down to 7/10 last time by. It's less than that now. As they come to the chicanes.
Rick Bourdais and Junqueira are running about 0.3 of a second quicker than Paul Tracy in the 37.5s now, 37.8 for Tracy.
Both of you have got a lot more experience here than I have in terms of watching these Champ Car events over the last few years. Seems as though this is a hard place to pass.
It's difficult under any circumstances. A lot of the guys were excited because they thought push to pass would make a really big difference here. The one thing, again, I keep coming back to it, but it's so critical to use push to pass. You got to use extra fuel. And if their guys are saying, if you run a lap shorter than everybody else, you lose, period. Anywhere you're running around who runs a lap longer than you, so you cannot afford. So it would have been neat to see how push to pass, how effective push to pass was here if they had the fuel windows that were running full mixture all the time.
Points leaderboard today, the McDonald's number 2. Ford Cosworth singing a sweet song here in the early going. If that's the case, is this a matter of everyone watches Tracy when he pits, everybody pits?
Yes, it is for the front runners. Guys at the back who potentially have reasonable speed will take a chance and pit a little bit earlier. Remember, Tommy mentioned push to pass earlier on. They've increased push to pass up to 75 seconds to try and give potential passing zones move the tires back, slowly move them back, and then they begin to use more and more curves.
You hear about pitchers painting the strike zone in baseball, painting the edges of home plate. These guys are painting the curbs here to move those tires back.
And that happened in qualifying, and Paul Tracy saw it that the car had knocked the tire. I think Nelson Felipe had knocked the tires back. And Tracy said, well, I'm going to take advantage of that. And he was a full 6/10 quicker on that lap when he saw the tires knocked back and was able to climb up over the curbs a little more aggressively.
There's the problem for Dominguez right there. Allmendinger is quick down this long, fast front straight, but it's only when they get to the brake zones here that Dominguez, maybe he has a little bit more downforce, but he is faster through the tighter section, and Tracy just inches away again from Bourdais.
Tracy has stretched it out now 1.1 seconds. The gap, and here comes Bourdais right back at him into the corner. Let's take a little look back at some of the action we've seen in the chicanes. This was in qualifying earlier this weekend.
And you can see there where he clipped the front wing and broke it loose from its mountains. Look at this here. This is Dominguez up over the top. And then Bernard, what's this? It's that tire on the inside.
Doing the same thing.
So hitting with your tire is not that big a cost, but if you move over far enough to get the front wing plate, it'll tear the front wing off. So I think the guys, you see guys like Allmendinger, they hit it, upsets the car a little bit. The chances are it bought you more than it cost you by shortcutting a little bit.
Dean running 12 for the corner here in that car. Right behind him is young Nelson Felipe, just turned 18 a short time ago, running 13. The second hijack car for Eric Bachelar's team.
Pretty incredible that Nelson Felipe, this is his 20th car race, period. Out of go-karts into racing cars, this is race number 20. That is remarkable.
Robert Dodge Pro is a vintage champ car. And he is right there with Rodolfo Levine battling for 13th spot. Working toward lap number 10. Tracy is the leader. Bourdais, Shankara, and Allmendinger remaining the top four. And this one going the way he needs it to go. With Tommy Kendall and Derek Daly, I'm Rick Benjamin. Heck of a battle for the top spot up front. Series champion Paul Tracy leads. Sebastian Bourdais, this year's points leader, running second. Moments ago, Bourdais made a run at Tracy that was terrific down the inside. Here's a look back.
He basically virtually had him pass heading into the third chicane here, but Tracy never says die.
Oh, that is such a risky move for Bourdais to try and pull off. When he saw Paul Tracy turning in, he just gave him all the room he needed. Bourdais cannot afford to touch wheels or bang wheels with anybody here with this championship to chase.
I'm sure he's getting an earful from his engineer right now. But that Tracy used that against him. Tracy says, you know what? We have totally different risk-reward profiles. He says, I have nothing to lose. You got everything to lose. Are you going to be stupid enough to risk that? And at the very last second, Sebastian
Bourdais back off.
blinked.
And Paul Tracy just radioed in, said, the car is great. I love the way it drives.
Well,
This is going to set up a real street fight, because as good as Paul Tracy feels in this car, Tommy, Bourdais looks to be just as fast, if not a tiny bit faster at times.
Well, and I was going to say, when we get to the first pit stop in 15 laps or so, Bourdais' team has been terrific on pit road, where the Forsythe team has not this year. So Bourdais, if he thinks about it, as I'm sure he is, he may realize he could get him on pit road.
Look at the pressure Dominguez is putting on A.J. Allmendinger here. Allmendinger, the second youngest man of the field here. He is under intense pressure from Mario Dominguez.
And from lap one, Allmendinger has not looked very comfortable or happy, but he just never say die. He's saying, I'm not going to let this guy in. He's carrying that car to the best of his ability. I think Dominguez is quicker, but Allmendinger just is not going to give up.
Heading down one of the straightaways here at Surfers. There is Dominguez right up behind Allmendinger. You can accordion up to the guy in front of you, but getting a wheel under someone to make a pass is really the issue here. We saw Bourdais try it a moment ago on Tracy for the lead because of the chicane that they were entering. Tracy really had the upper hand and was able to maintain the top spot. Working lap 13, Allmendinger has just knocked off the fastest lap of the race so far.
And we see it's really closing up, and I'm wondering if maybe Tracy isn't in some kind of fuel trouble, and that's what brought him back to Bourdais and bringing those two back to Allmendinger, etc., because we're starting to, Hunter Ray is only 4.2 seconds seconds behind Tracy.
Well, what would fuel trouble amount to here? What kind of fuel trouble could he be in so early in the race?
Well, again, the fuel trouble is if it's looking like he's going to have to stop a lap before Bourdais, then he's cooked. He'll come out second or third.
And there's telemetry from the cars to the pits, and the drivers have a specific number. If they only hit 1.7 miles to the gallon, they're going to have to stop around lap 19 or 20. If they can stretch that to 1.85, they can go to lap 22, 23. If they can get 2 miles to the gallon, you can go as high as 25 laps. Tommy mentioned earlier, if you go 1 lap longer, it's a huge advantage.
So if you're not able to get around a guy, Dominguez is putting more pressure than I would imagine. You use fuel to put pressure on like that. So usually what you do in this situation is say, you know what, I'm going to run as quick as this guy in front of me. I can't get around him, so I'm just going to start short shifting. I'm going to coast into the braking areas, be as easy as I can, and then hope that I can go a lap longer than him, run a really quick lap once he ducks into the pits. When my stop's done, I'll be in front.
Riding with Junqueira, who sits third right now. Remember that Bourdais needs to gain 7 points over Junqueira to clinch the title. Right now, he's just got a 2-point advantage if the checkered flag were to fall on this lap. We're hearing from Bourdais' radio traffic guys that he thinks the car's got to push, and he's not very happy with it right now.
Believe it or not, the fastest man on the racetrack so far is Michel Jourdain. He's just on a 36.0, which is quicker than the leaders are running.
So Jourdain trying to move up from 9th position right now. Paul Tracy is the leader. Bourdais, Junqueira, and Allmendinger continue to make up the top 4 in the Champ Car Grand Prix of Australia. Course caution, first time today. Several cars making pit stops. Tracy is on pit road, and the rest of the leaders will follow him. The Newman Haas cars coming to pit road. Tracy's car up on the jacks.
How much fuel will they put into Paul Tracy's and or Bourdais' car? Will they dare to do a short fill to give Bourdais track position? And will they tape his car back together?
Doesn't look like they're making a move. Bourdais down and away. Junqueira following. Now, did Bourdais beat Tracy off pit road?
No. Tracy got out first, then Bourdais, then Bruno. They can't afford to do a short fill because this is only lap 15, so they would have to, that would be too many laps to go to the end. They'd be really tight if it runs green the rest of the way.
Allmendinger gave up a spot on pit road to Mario Dominguez, it appears.
Oh.
And there goes the Corona beer car. Rodolfo Levine down and away. A little drag race here between Mario Haberfeld and Guy Smith, I do believe. Smith in the least planned car. Under full course caution for the first time today. And while we have an opportunity early in the going here, our colleague Bronte Tagliani had a chance to visit one of the great sites in the Surfers Paradise area. Let's take you there.
Down here in Australia, what better place to spend the day than Currumbin Wildlife Sanctuary, where I can get a close-up look at some of Australia's native animals. Let's go check it out. There they are. They're really cute with their wheels. It's like, what's that? Hey, check it out. How long do they live in the wild?
12 to 13 years. So here in captivity we can get around 20 years.
Now this hand, you put the thumb and knife on this.
Right here?
Yep, that's it. And you hold him up nice and straight. So he feels nice and comfortable that he's resting. You pretend like he's on a rock or something like that. So, gee.
It's strange. They're like really hard on top. Really soft underneath.
Now this tail is a very powerful tail. That's one of the aids that they use to catch their food out in the wild. They can knock that off the side of the shoreline if they want to grab something, or mainly they'll use an ambush technique to raise out of the water and grab their prey that way. But these little guys, they're just feeding off chicken mince at the moment.
Okay.
So
they're not catching anything?
No, they're pretty pampered. They're very pampered pooches, so we can feed them, I guess, in a way.
Bronte didn't look too comfortable holding that baby croc there.
No.
Ralph Levine got into some trouble in the Corona beer car. We saw him complete his stop and come off pit road, but apparently he looped that car and they're getting ready to put a new nose piece on.
Tires.
Take a look here at what Levine has had happen to him. Looks as though he spun on the cold tires coming off pit road. One more look at it here.
Ooh. Top of the screen.
In the chicane. Got himself turned around. So knocked off a side wing on the front. He will have to come back to pit road. They're going to have to go collect him, it appears. Looks like he stalled the car. Seems to be a few bits hanging off there in the front, too. So he might have gotten into something a little more than just a tire barrier. They're going to have to jack the car up to spin it around.
And if he wasn't easy enough at the chicanes, now having spun on cold tires, there's no way he's going to let it hang out.
Levine shuffled back to 19th
when he gets this rear wing on, our front wing on.
Levine with the visor up, waiting to get restarted, bring that car to pit road to the attention of the Forsyth team. So Tracy continues to lead. First full course yellow of the day here at Surfers Paradise in Australia. Getting ready to restart here at Surfers Paradise. Ralph Levine under caution. Spot knocked the nose wings off the 3 car. He has pitted for a new nose cone. But he lost a lap, so he's back up on the racetrack. Tracy will lead him to the restart. He'll have Sebastian Bourdais, Bruno Junqueira. Mario Dominguez now moves to 4th with a better pit stop than A.J. Allmendinger.
And we saw how much he was worrying A.J. Allmendinger. It'd be interesting to see if he's the quickest car in the field and is able to put some pressure on Bruno Junqueira. Now, one thing with this yellow coming out, we were starting to speculate about whether Tracy was using more fuel than Bourdais. Effectively, he dodged a bullet by having that yellow come out. They got to make their stops. Had to make them on the same lap or to get the same advantage they did. So Tracy, now they're kind of reset. Everybody has the same amount of fuel on board. I suspect they topped both cars up all the way. And so now there's only one more opportunity for a guy to go a lap longer than you and maybe leapfrog Randy. So this is really working into the favor of a guy like Tracy or anyone that might have been not getting as good a mileage.
I know it's a little bit of a guess, but it looked like Tracy and Bourdais stopped him at the same time and left him at the same time, so you can presume they put about the same amount of fuel into the tank. So it might be Australia. I'm sure her family are down there. There it is here, right here. No room for tag, no room. In fact, Justin Wilson did not stay tight to the curb. He used the curb. He used a lot of the road there and just drop kick tag into that wall.
So let's reset up front. It's still Tracy Bourdais and Jean-Carol Dominguez has moved up a spot. Let's go watch Levine, who's a lap down, getting past here. That's the YJ car. We have Nelson Philippe, the white of the red car. Allmendinger is 5th. Hunter Ray 6th. Jourdain down to 7th. Vassar 8th. Carpani to 9th. Justin Wilson, the big loser, he's all the way back to 10th there.
That was quite a move there by Nelson Philippe down the inside, because it didn't look like Levine was moving over, and Nelson Philippe came down the inside and break all the way to the apex. That was quite a move right there.
I think he was probably expecting Levine to get out of the way a little bit. Levine now being a lap down. So he did get out of the way, so Philippe had to pull it off all on his own.
But in a chicane like that, there's really no place to go, is there?
No, that's the thing. If he didn't get some cooperation from Levine, that's how things go on. Well, you saw it happen with Wilson and Tim Gunner. There's just a lot of room.
Survey there, Taylor Boyd's 11, the OTV.com car. It's the black and yellow machine right behind him. There's the NII Holdings car.
Now Levine feels so awkward here because he knows he's a lap down. He knows he shouldn't see around to race with these guys. He's got no option but to just move over as best he can and let those guys go by.
Now this time without him pulling out before halfway. Mario Dominguez could be the big beneficiary here. They had a 5th in the standings coming in. This could allow Mario Dominguez to climb to 5th today. One race to go.
I think only 2 or 3 points behind Tag coming in.
There's Bernard at the end of this run here. There he is there on the black and white car, backed by a local Australian businessman. They wanted to have an Aussie in the race here, which is a great thing for the local crowd. He's done a good job. As you said, Rick, earlier, he was a single-seater driver when he came to America. Did Formula 4 2000, the Dan Weldon era, not too long ago, and then went back to the American V8s.
A good single seat.
Yeah.
Two-time Ford 2000 champion here in the States. Went back and he drives the guy who owns that WFS, Craig Gore, I believe is his name. Put the deal together with Cal Bowman and Walker so they would have a local guy in this race.
Watching the Rocket Sports team tackling on his 8th car behind the wall with a broken left rear suspension. They lost the side pod bodywork earlier. First time this year that the 8th car will not be around for the checkered flag. It comes in the 13th race of the season. As always at Surfers Paradise, a huge crowd is assembled. Before today, guys, in 3 days of action, it had more than 200,000 fans. Today's crowd, 107,000 plus. A 4-day total, 310,000 fans watching the action here at Surfers. Seen a wild one so far, back to the front straightaway. Jean-Carol comes third. Dominguez right with him down here. Days 55 and 4th spot.
See, Rick, they pulled away from Allmendinger and from Ryan Hunter Ray, so they're going forward. But boy, that was a huge mistake by Jean-Carol to that Bourdais, and Tracy just gets so far away.
Just asleep at the
Yeah,
split.
absolutely. It's a very strange thing to happen.
Without being at the course hard to tell, is that an issue of the safety car perhaps not punching the field up properly before the start?
If I had to guess, I think it was Bruno being wrapped up maybe in trying to save fuel under caution. Was really just lugging the engine and figured he'd give himself a little room to run a half a lap with careful corners of the car to get a little extra temperature, and then he went and they were already gone.
And in a street circuit like this where you can't see, you don't know unless your spotters tell you where you are on the racetrack.
Tracy doesn't wait for anyone.
No, absolutely not. Coming close to halfway, Tracy continues to lead at Surfers Paradise. Top 2 are nose to tail at Surfers Paradise in Australia with Tommy Kendall and Derek Daly. Iverick Benjamin approaching halfway. The Grand Prix of Australia for the Champ Car World Series, 13th race of the 2004 championship. And there they are, the top 2 arrowing through the canyons here. And the championship battle looks like this. Bourdais continues to win second, Jean-Carol third. Bourdais stands to pick up 2 points over his teammate. That will not be enough to clinch the title.
Bruno is catching Bourdais. He is running quicker right now than Bourdais. Bruno's last lap was in the 36 zeros.
A second faster.
Wow.
Now, imagine if he hadn't given away 5 seconds on the restart. Now, here's a race where Bruno has to be perfect, and he gives the guy 5 seconds. I want to hear the explanation on that. difference between a Rue Sport and a Dale Coyne. Dale Coyne's backup car, they hope they never have to run it because it's not ready to run. Whereas Rue Sport, it's literally just an inconvenience, and they can plug another one in. He said the backup car was better than the primary, whereas Dale Coyne's more, I would call it kind of like a mom and pop, where they don't have enough money to have the staff to have that car ready to run.
That was Phil LePan. We saw their team manager from Levin overlooking what's going on until they get back on the racetrack.
One lap short of halfway today at Surfers Paradise in Australia. As Paul Levine may be done, at least he's on pit road for now. Tracy continues to lead. Just past halfway at Surfers Paradise, Queensland, Australia. Champ Car Grand Prix of Australia, Yarganis, going through a roll-off area, stopping off course, just taking the steering wheel off the table. Race 19 car. Series champ Paul Tracy has led all the way from the pole in the index number 1. Bruno Junqueira in third spot, trying to get around his teammate Sebastian Bourdais. Bourdais in the driver's seat as far as the championship is concerned. A 28-point lead for Bourdais when they dropped the green here today. Bourdais insane. He's been there all the way. Let's go back and recap for you what we've seen so far. This was the start. Lots of action, a lot of predictions. There would be a big wreck in the first couple of quarters. We avoided that, but there was some contact. A.J. Allmendinger got into Bourdais, forced him to cut one of the corners short. No penalty call. Tracy got away clean and took the lead. Alex Tagliani had a very difficult day. Side-by bodywork in the wall. A little later on, Bourdais took a run. We thought he was going to get by Tracy and take the lead here. Tracy hung right in there on the outside. Riastic was the top spot looking for right-hander in that chicane. Alex Tagliani, though, got welded into the wall, hit the ball hard through one of the chicanes with the left rear quarter of the 8 car. And the Rocket Sports Johnson Controls entry is behind the wall. This is the first time this season Tagliani will not be around for the checkered flag. He finished every race up until this one here at Surfers Paradise. They pushed the 8 car behind the wall, broke the whole suspension on the car. The tag is not in the air. Meantime, trouble for Mario Hammerfeld, who was so quick in the morning warm-up. He spun Derek Walker's primary car. The Cummins diesel number 5 looks like he's in the wall. We would expect a caution.
Now this is where it's going to get very interesting because we're 23 and a half laps from the end. And that's where we break into this fuel mileage. Where to go that, you have to go somewhere between 1.85 and 2.0 miles per gallon if you stop now to make it to the end. So everybody should stop under this caution. But then it's going to be a real tough to see who can go stretch their tank and fuel that low.
It is springtime in Australia. Track temperature's 110 degrees today, so it's very warm. Let's take a look here. Hammerfeld just got loose. Didn't hit anything. Locked him up without hitting the wall.
Yeah, but the problem is he didn't keep the engine running.
Oh, he did, and then you see it just launch right there.
Locks the brakes, turns into the skid in driver's ed fashion there.
You know, his teammate is David Bernard for this weekend. Bernard needs to teach him how to just do donuts because Bernard's an expert at it.
So under the caution, leaders will come to pit road. Here comes Tracy's second stop of the day for the index number 1.
These yellows are working so perfectly for these leaders.
There goes Bourdais by. Got his bunch over the wall. Bringing their cars to a stop. Junqueira's on pit road.
these cars halfway around the world, the car is running well, and they make a tiny human error like that to put them out of the race and basically throw all the effort out the window. Jourdain, whose best finish was 4th back in 03, and now they just throw it all away.
And again, you've got to assume here that off pit road, they just didn't get the right rear on tight.
What usually happens is if the car is dropped before the wheel is snugged onto the drive pins, the car will go down and the lug will go on tight, and the air gun will rattle it on, but the wheel isn't all the way in against the drive pins. So as soon as the load comes off, the wheel pulls away, and then the nut loosens up and it comes off.
Great replays here. So not only did he just lose this wheel, he just wrecked the left side suspensions too, front and rear, with that hard whack.
As we are under caution, that Bridgestone being retrieved by the safety workers. And take one more look at what happened there. Yeah, coming off pit road. Yeah, you can see the wheel nut bouncing down through
Wheel nuts, wheel nuts passing the car.
And the tire separates with the rim, and it throws him into the wall hard.
And Jourdain knows he's in trouble as soon as he hits the brakes. As soon as he gets in the brake zone, he knows he's in trouble.
Feel the car.
Feels the wobble, knows he's in trouble, hopes the wheel stays on, that he can maybe drive it back to the pits, but then he just tattoos the wall.
So that will extend our full course caution here. Well, Bridgestone, of course, has done a tremendous job getting a full field's worth of tires to Surfers Paradise. Our Bridgestone mark of excellence this weekend. We talked to Joe Barbieri earlier about what it takes to field all the tires you need here at Surfers Paradise.
Primarily brought the same spec that we used here last year, but however, when the addition of the 19th car forced us into bringing down one spec for each car with a slightly different compound. So we're going to gather data from that Friday morning, see how it all performs, and possibly use that same spec for next year. The differences between the two are going to be very slightly different. No one would ever notice a difference, certainly in their street car, but out here there might be a slight difference. And then as far as the rain tire goes, hopefully we won't be using it this year, but we brought plenty of rain tires down as well if need be.
Let them restart with this wrong.
Discussion on pit road.
It'll be a protest.
They're trying to understand what Joe Barbieri just said.
Good tires are on hand for all the teams here. 19 teams in action this weekend. The addition of the second half of their Walker's team. More tires had to be brought here by Bridgestone this week.
That is Kenny Seawick in discussion with a champ car official, something about Bourdais. But what Joe Barbieri said there was Bridgestone, because it was a 19th car, David Bernard, didn't have enough of the regular tires. They brought a new spec tire, which they ran on Friday. Now, all the teams, they weren't that impressed with running a new spec Friday, which they wouldn't run Saturday, Sunday. But as Joe said, there's hardly any difference, but they did get some good test time on those new Bridgestones prior to building them and bringing them for the full weekend next year. Right, Thomas?
And you got all that out of what he said?
Yeah. I made up something, but I know that's how I was going to sleep.
Well, right now, after the round of pit stops, A.J. Allmendinger will be the restart leader. Carpentier and Tracy are top three. 23 laps to go when they come by start-finish next time on this 2.8-mile layout. Lining up behind the safety car, A.J. Allmendinger, Patrick Carpentier elected to stay on the racetrack. Tracy stopped for the second time, but Derek, you're thinking he may not be able to make it all the way.
That has been a discussion on the radio. Here we go. Allmendinger now. We saw the pressure he was under earlier. Look at
Justin Wilson.
Yikes.
Wilson trying to find a way around from fourth. He too did not stop on the field. Oriol Serbia trying to pick up a spot there. Back in seventh spot. Here's Wilson in fourth. Jean-Cara fifth. Bourdais sixth. And remember, Jean-Cara beat Bourdais out the pits. And there's some controversy in the BMS team about how that happened. As we watch Allmendinger lead, just back under green at Surfers Paradise. We're going to take you back a moment ago, show you what happened on pit road. There's Serbian. Here it is again.
Now, Bruno looks like he dropped the clutch earlier than Bourdais, just by a smidge. But that's the controversial piece right there. How did he actually get past? Because I know there is a rule that when you leave the pit, you have to have all four wheels under the white line that goes out. Maybe the same Bruno didn't have his wheels on the line. But on the other hand, you look at the great speed. Take a look now. Battle for the championship between Bourdais and Junqueira. Right now, Junqueira 5th. Bourdais 6th. Bourdais needs to gain 7 points today to clinch the title. If things were to finish this way, he would have lost 2 points, and it would keep the title fight alive to Mexico City the first weekend of November. See the wing still loose on Patrick Carpentier's car, elected to stay out. Will he hold still torture these Bridgestones, and you're pretty sure they're not going to give up. So if these boys, as you say, Tommy, can make it on fuel, this could be quite a fight here.
Let's check what happens to Tracy. Moments ago, Tracy looped the car in a runoff area, lit up the tires to get it back to the racetrack, and that is how Dominguez got by him.
All by himself.
Yeah, but look what's locking up here. It's the rear tires locking up, so the brake balance on Tracy's car is not set properly. However, in fairness to Paul Tracy, he came on the radio to Neil Mickelwright, and he said, I know, just blew the corner. However, the rear brake should not be locking up on a street surface.
I noticed early on, Junqueira got a little bit of rear lock. Oh, yeah, the rear danced a little bit.
Unless he's actually using the rears to position and turn the car on the tight apexes. You can do that when the car is really well balanced.
16 laps to go at Surfers Paradise. Junqueira after all the pit action, the fuel strategies, and the Tracy era. Junqueira takes over the lead. Bourdais second. Remember, Junqueira made the pass coming off pit road. Here comes Bourdais. Drawing near.
To update on remember I said if these guys can't go on fuel, then Allmendinger's looking good. Well, Carpentier went a lap longer, so he got out in front of Allmendinger. But guess who we know doesn't have to stop ahead of both of them? David Menard.
Yes, because of what Derek Walker did right at the end of that last yellow.
They're he's a full 15 seconds in front of Carpentier and Allmendinger. So it's now looking like we got about 7 guys that all are trying to stretch fuel in front of Menard.
And that was Bernard right there running behind Guy Smith.
Bernard in his second car just added this weekend for Derek Walker's team. It's a Radar. Bernard, a former F2000 champion in the United States. That moment is native Australia, racing Australian V8 supercars. Got the deal as a one-off ride. His supercar team owner funding the ride this weekend with Derek Walker's squad. Meantime, the two championship contenders wanted one to. They'll carry having things going the way he would like them to go, at least for now.
The Australian director hasn't figured out what we figured out. We've been seeing a lot of David Menard right now.
Pictures coming from Network 10 in Australia this weekend. We thank them for their fine work as always.
This has been a year of frustration for Bruno because he has not been able to match the speed of Sebastian Bourdais. Last year, remember, was Bruno's third year in Champ Car racing. He usually wins his championships in his third year. Same in Formula 3000, same in the South American Formula 3 Championship, but he didn't win it last year. And now this year, he's been just running so behind Bourdais more often than not. It's been a year of frustration. But the way this thing is going here, he is going to take the fight all the way to the last round of Mexico.
Junqueira leading. Second in points, a familiar place for him to be. Sebastian Bourdais the points leader, 6 victories this season. Junqueira with 6 runner-up finishes this year. Consistency is a big key to success in the championship in the Champ Car World Series. 15 to go.
Don't take your eye off Dominguez because if you look at told here. There is regular communication that is suggesting that Allmendinger, Wilson, Carpentier, Servia, and David Bernard may be the 5 that can run all the way to the end, with most of these front runners potentially having to make a splash and go. Now that will put the cat among the pigeons as this thing rolls out these last laps.
Jarrett is your leader. Ray is second, 1.5 seconds behind. Dominguez third, Tracy fourth, Monterey fifth. Sixth is Vassar as your Ford running order comes up top of the screen. Philippe is seventh ahead of Gonzalez. Guy Smith in ninth spot. As Bernard right now 10th. But as Derek has pointed out, Bernard could be in the greatest shape of any.
I'm going to guess that was Bernard's girlfriend or wife.
I think that might have been Bruno's girl with the prayer beads.
Is he that girlfriend?
Because that was in Bruno's pick.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I always want to be careful, huh? During the Surfers Paradise
And you mean prayer beads, you mean rosary beads?
Yeah.
Okay.
Here's Mario Hopper. Made a good day going before a spin. He's a lap down now. In 15th spot. 14 cars remain on the lead lap. They got 13 laps to go. Continuing to lead. He's got a little more push to pass time left than Sebastian does, which means that Bonet could be in worse fuel shape.
Yeah, you don't know if they use that push to
front and knocked it off. It's inside. New Brimstone's going on. Cosworth continues to sink. Flynn moves him back into the racetrack.
Watching the lap times here, you know what I think's happened while we've been talking? I think we don't have confirmation, but I think the top teams have abandoned trying to stretch.
Absolutely.
You look at the speed that Junqueira ran at 34.0 last lap. I think they said, we can't make it. So now they're running as quick as they can.
One open here. Locking up. And Junqueira, Bourdais. Little agricultural racing up over the curbing and through the grass there.
There's confirmation what Tommy just said. They're going absolutely flat out. 8 laps to go. They know they have to make an extra pit stop. Does Dominguez have to make a pit stop? And Tracy and Ryan Hunter-Ray and Vassar and Felipe and Gonzalez and Smith leaving Bernard. He's currently 10th.
So that's a
Looking like a hero.
With slowing down, stopping for a splash, and going the pit lane speed limit, how much does that cost you? We don't know. We haven't had a green flag stop that we can gauge that on. Actually, we have. If I had been paying a little closer attention, I could have some time gauging. So we're just going to have to wait and see.
Championship leader with 6 victories to his credit this season. Comes off the big win in Las Vegas Motor Speedway 2 weeks ago, last weekend of September. He doesn't like looking races. He's going
stationary longer than I had to. Maybe figure Jim Garrett can do it at 28 or puts him out just in front of Bassett.
Here comes away with Serbia. Right in front of Bruno. Serbia has raced his way back to 14th after problems earlier. And Bruno on brakes. Serbia, who gives him room.
Taking the risks, taking all the gambles. We hear Tracy may take the gamble. May stretches. May stretches.
Tracy sets fourth. Remember, he had that off and spin earlier.
Oh, look on the left
Front there going into the corner.
He is absolutely flat out right now.
Here he comes. Big
Carpentier.
crash. Is that Carpentier?
Oh, and this is
Tracy.
This is a huge one. And the yellow is coming at the wrong time. Bruno's already in there.
That might be that
Carpentier put that car hard into the wall.
And now the yellow, then he's not going to stop. I mean, he goes right through. No, he's going to stop because now they're going to save fuel. Why? They should have waited.
And that Bourdais in.
Splash and go for Junqueira. Bourdais still on pit road. Bourdais will not win. Bourdais down and away. Junqueira already committed to pit road with the yellow wing.
That was a huge crash for Conti.
I wondered if it was that wing fail. Hard to tell from what little picture we had. Tracy did pit as well, we're told.
Remember what happened? Nelson Philippe at Laguna Seca when the front wing came off went under the wheels and that speared him off into the tire, the barrier.
Carpentier with questions about where he'll be racing next year, still in the balance. Let's take a look and see. There it is.
Wings fail.
Yeah, wing came up in the runoff area, and the tires did not go upside down, but a huge hit for Patrick Carpentier. He just nearly took out Roberto Gonzalez there, went right across the racetrack in front of him, shrapnel everywhere. That's what happens. He tried to make it all the way with that broken front wing. Locking up the brakes. No brakes left. You can tell the wheel's still spinning. The rear wing off the car. Carpentier helped by the tires there.
And of course his brakes were gone also because the right side was gone, so front and rear brakes were also gone. Talk about landing on the feet of the safety people.
So now this may result in caution to the finish.
And there it is, seven.
Right now, Junqueira shown as the race leader. Bourdais shown second. Dominguez shown third. And Tracy fourth.
Have a look at this look again.
Scoring's recycled yet.
Okay, there's the wing off. Oh yeah, that's it. Front wing off, spears him right into the guardrail, takes left side suspension off, which takes the braking system out of the car. He's probably doing 120 miles an hour there and goes off down the escape road. Wow.
Ambulance going to the scene. It looked as though Carpentier went right in front of Roberto Gonzalez there as he went careening down the racetrack, down that short straightaway, and right into the runoff area. Fortunately, he was able to guide the car into the runoff area. Junqueira still the leader. Just a couple of laps to go, and we've just gotten word from Champ Car World Series officials the cleanup from the big wreck by Carpentier will not allow for a restart. This one will finish under caution. It appears Bruno Junqueira will score his second victory of the season here in 2004 and keep the title fight alive going to Mexico City in November. Wow, what a turn of events at the end. Patrick Carpentier trying to stretch it with a broken front wing. The wing came apart as he was at a high-speed part of the racetrack, just as he was trying to pass another car. The wing failure threw him into a wall, sent him hurtling down the racetrack into a runoff area where he went up in the air, came back down, did not flip. The safety workers still attending to Carpentier in the race car. And with 2 to go, it appears we will not see a green flag finish here today at Surfers Paradise.
That was 2 big hits. One big hit on the wall, and another big hit down in the runoff when he hit those stacks of tires.
That is not the first time, as we mentioned earlier, that we've seen that type of accident. This year, we didn't actually see the accident with Nelson Philippe, but we know exactly that's what happened. Once the wing goes under the front wheel, you lose your steering and you lose your braking. Once you lose the steering and you turn slightly left, you're going so fast, you can't just change trajectory and turn it back to where you want it to be. Yeah, it's the big crash.
It's not even the tires getting lifted off the ground because the wing went under in a second, but it's basically the aero imbalance caused. All of a sudden you've got full downforce in the rear, none at the front. The wheels turned, the car just
will be a time of celebration for David Bernard and for everybody that put that deal together for him, including Kevin Calcone.
Safety workers still attending to Patrick Carpentier. No further information available. We certainly wish Patrick and his team all the best as the cleanup continues here at Surfers Paradise.
Isn't it a remarkable statistic that this race has never had a two-time winner? And yet again, this is 14 years and now 14 different winners.
Thought for a time that Mario Dominguez might be the first repeat winner, and some would say it would have been a legitimate win for him because 2 years ago it was badly rain short and a lot of laps were won for the red and checker to finally away. But it looks like Luis Junqueira and Bourdais 1-2 the final lap. They're taking the white flag. Next time by, there will not be a restart.
And you can see the runoff area there, Tommy. The strobe still flashing. They're still trying to clean up that area. It's not so much getting Carpentier out of the car. You've got to get the safety walls back in line again if they were going to go racing.
So Junqueira and Bourdais will run 1-2 at Surfers. So the checkered flag displayed under caution, ending the Champ Car Grand Prix of Australia, and Bruno Junqueira bags his second victory of the season, following up his win at Montreal back in August. Bourdais' second place means that the title fight stays alive to the season finale in a couple of weeks.
How improbable. I mean, ever since right before Montreal, Bruno says, you know what? He says, we're going to get some good luck. And anytime it needs to go his way, it has gone his way. And I don't know, heading to Mexico City, there's almost a weird sense of destiny about Bruno winning when he needs to.
Wow. It is the fourth Newman Haas win here at Surfers Paradise.
If Bruno pulls off and wins this championship, it will be improbable because the name in that team that you remember most of the season long is Sebastian Bourdais, because he's been so spectacular, not just in racing, but how many times have you seen Bourdais grab the pole in the very last lap of qualifying in spectacular start? There's Carl Haas, there's White Bernie. What a successful trip they've had to Australia. Bring all that equipment, bring all those people, and finish first and second.
AJ Allmendinger will finish in sixth position. So Junqueira is the winner. Bourdais gets credit for second. Dominguez third. Tracy, Hunter-Reay, and AJ Allmendinger. Second, sixth, David Bernard. Good result in seventh spot.
There is Patrick Carpentier's car, or what's left of it.
They've put the safety clean diaper around. Let's show you the standings unofficially. With one race to go, Mexico City in 2 weeks. Bourdais will go there with a 22-point lead over Junqueira. Carpentier maintains third in front of Tracy, but it's a two-man fight for the championship here in 2004. It's been a wild one at Surfers Paradise as the Urdez team talks to one of their drivers today, and here comes Junqueira.
As we go to Mexico, don't think that Dominguez won't be a handful for that Newman Haas team when we get down there.
All the incentive racing in front of his countrymen, he'll absolutely be a factor. There's David Bernard out of the race car talking to his team. Ryan Hunter-Reay and Mario Dominguez with good finishes, and Junqueira getting ready to climb the podium here at Surfers Paradise. His second victory of 2004. The very heady race made the winning pass on